Welcome to the Green Nurse Podcast, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. We're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good or be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. You deserve to feel good. We all deserve to feel good. And here is a little video about what we do in the cannabis space as nurses before we introduce our guest.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship, and what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers. Oh, there we go. Growing in health, growing in cannabis. Hi, everyone. My name is Sherry Mack, and I'm the Vice President of Nursing at Holistic Caring in the Green Nurse. I'm a cannabis nurse, patient, advocate, activist, and as you all know, I'm a passionate podcaster here to change the paradigm of healthcare. So today's show is a compelling, real-life story of what healing looks like from a patient perspective. As holistic cannabis nurses, we've learned that the drivers of healthcare lie outside of the conventional system and are modifiable by us as people, patients, and consumers. So how do we inspire consciousness for healing? Storytelling, right? So sharing compelling stories of healing to inspire others that they too can heal. So today I'd like to introduce today's guest, who'll share her compelling story of healing with cannabis and how her relationship with cannabis has changed over the years. And she's gonna just be amazing. I've known Tammy for a couple of years now. So Tammy Droz is a writer, trauma-conscious meditation teacher, and business owner. She lives on the traditional islands of Squakin and Nisqually tribes, also known as Olympia, Washington. Tammy is a mom of 2 adult children. She's comfortably single, and her mom purchased a home together during the pandemic and moved from California on a whim. They both enjoy the Pacific Northwest with their fuzzy animal friends. Tammy is a woman in long-term life recovery, including alcohol and substance misuse, complex trauma, depression, perfectionism, and is now newly recovering from non-smokers, non-small cell lung cancer stage 3 with a curable outcome. So welcome, Tammy. I just want to say thank you so much for being open and vulnerable with us today. I know your message is going to reach thousands of patients and people across the globe. So thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to share with you today because it's really helping my cancer recovery as it's helped me in other areas of my life. So thank you for having me today.
Yeah, well, we were before we popped on the show, you had said, "You know what? I'm having a bad day today." And I'm looking at you. I'm like, "You know what? You're having a bad day today, but you really don't look like you're having a bad day today." And I think possibly that might be because you're utilizing appropriate tools to nourish your endocannabinoid system. Would you agree?
Yes, yes, definitely. Yes, because I am, let's see, I just had my second round of chemo, and I was supposed to lose my hair by now. And it was coming out, but it's just getting thin and this loss has stopped. But I really think it's the protocol, the cannabis protocol that's really, really helping me. I feel very grateful from what I hear how it can go.
Yeah.
Chemo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, for the viewers, let's just talk about, because you've had a very interesting relationship with cannabis and substances.
Mhm.
So let's discuss like your relationship with cannabis over the years and how it shifted, right, to how you're using it now in your life. So in the beginning, what was your first impression of cannabis?
Very first impression was something fun and naughty to get into in high school. And that was just I think I was about 15 or 16 the first time I started dipping in, and I was also doing other things like I grew up in the 80s. I'm 50, I just turned 54. My birthday is on 420.
No. If that
Yes.
isn't a sign.
Yeah, no, so I thought that was a fun little fact to and I do have a little chemo brain, so when I'm talking, I sometimes have to, like, pause and, but so my first, I liked it. It was more kind of like the forbidden fruit, and it was something that I shouldn't do, and I really didn't know about it, but my friends and I kinda dipped in it, and that's kind of how I went in it, but I did notice later as I got into my, like, 30s, 40s, it really helped with I always had some depression going on, that I never really addressed or worked on, but it really helped me. And,
Yeah,
we talked briefly about, like, from self-harm, but it helped me from doing things that would hurt me otherwise. You
right.
know, but I
Yeah.
didn't understand it.
You didn't understand the plant. So did you know that you were medicating with it? Were you medicating?
No, no, I just used it as just it almost came a crutch to be comfortable. I was very, very shy, and it made me, it was kind of a crutch, but it was more the alcohol that was more crutchy than the cannabis because it was harder to, it was way back. So it was not the right introduction to it.
So in other words, as a teenager, you didn't have the appropriate introduction that you possibly could have had. Were you one of the kids that was scared by the DARE program? Were you a
No,
DARE program child? Okay.
no, I was more the one of the yeah, I was more of the rebellious kid that wanted everybody to join her.
There you go. Well, yeah,
But
see,
I was scared of it with the bigger drugs. Yes, it did scare me. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
All right. So when did your relationship with cannabis shift? So, it was introduced to you, as a kid, as a teenager, you were doing it recreationally. You started using it for depression, right?
Yeah, so I noticed, and this was in probably around the time when I quit alcohol. I quit alcohol for about 5 years. I'm not fully abstinent, but I noticed that cannabis was helping me. Because when you quit a substance, you start dealing with your actual things you've been running from when you use a substance to mask things that are hard in life or trauma or whatever. So I started noticing it was helping me from self harm. And this was probably in my late 40s. And I was in suicide idealization probably most of my life, but it got pretty heavy duty in 2014 where I had it almost. And I started using cannabis more to relieve me. And I started reaching out to doctors and I started going to holistic doctors and noticing other doctors were want the medicines that they wanted to put me on. I got misdiagnosed as bipolar 2. Um, and they were going to put me on all kinds of meds for that. And I refused. And I started researching and really looking at what cannabis does uplift me and want to keep me safe. You know, it was the one thing that really would bring a smile to my face, would bring my creatives back to me, where alcohol would get me rageful and in trouble, where cannabis would want me to put down the other things. So it really helped me quit many things. It helped me divorce a really hard, scary divorce, or not scary, scary, but it was heartbreaking, scary. And it really helped me shift into go ask for help and get help. But I did still have the stigma with it. I was doing something wrong by using it. So I was still learning about it. And
Yeah, interesting. Well, because when we're teaching as nurses, we know the endocannabinoid system signals the fight or flight response and the relaxation response. Guess where we heal best? The relaxation response, right? So the fight or flight response is something we can't control. It's involuntary. The relaxation response is something that requires conscious awareness and practice. If we have healthy endocannabinoid systems, we can slip into the relaxation response easier. If we don't, it requires us to be conscious and aware and do things to help us get into the relaxation response. Cannabis helps us get into the relaxation response, but so does mind-body tools, right? So supporting the endocannabinoid dome, those health and wellness activities that we talk about all the time. And so as human beings, who likes to be in the fight or flight response? Not me, right? And when we are in the fight or flight response, we often become people we think we need to become in order to survive.
Yes.
So what happens? We become really uncomfortable and we want to escape. And so what we often do is we might choose things that are unhealthy for us because we're used to it, it's predictable, and we've done it before. So the part that's really cool about cannabis is it can help you to dive into spirit, mind, body, right? Spirit, mind, body, the biopsychosocial, spiritual aspects of healing. And so teaching about cannabis as medicine is we will need to teach people how to use it appropriately and safely and how they compare cannabis with other tools that are going to bring them into the relaxation response. So cannabis doesn't become the primary driver of comfort, right? Cannabis is important. I love cannabis. I'm for it. You all know that I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't, but I'm also about the safe use and about how we can prevent not over consuming, because if you take too much THC, something happens. Your body stops producing its own anandamide molecule. It temporarily slows down if you take too much. And you have your CB1 and CB2 receptors, your CB1 receptors in particular start to hide. They're saying, I'm good, you don't need any more, I'm gonna hide. So, and that can become troublesome for patients as well. And then people will keep taking more and more, thinking that there's something wrong and they need more. But basically what we like to teach is less is more. You don't need as much as you think you do, except if you're a medical cannabis patient. Your requirements change based on the therapies that you might be using conventionally. So cannabinoids, as we know, bridge the gap from what patients aren't getting from conventional medicine, can mitigate side effects, and make those particular therapies work better. And so cannabis dosing for patients that have different types of conditions is going to look different for everyone, right? And so the sweet spot is using the right amount of cannabis to control your symptoms, to decrease side effects below the threshold of feeling impaired. So that's just my little nursey nurse 2 cents on it, because I love teaching on it. It's important to me, and it's important to me that people use it appropriately and get the results that they're looking for. So let's get back to safe use. So let's talk about, so in some of the questions, right, what we did was we worked together back last October in 2022. And let's talk about what that was all about. I just want to hear your perspective instead of me sharing my perspective. What was your impression?
So I found you through I moved in with my mom. It was my mom and her wife had Alzheimer's, who we've lost her wife since. But that's how we found the nurse and in the holistic caring. I didn't mean to point you the nurse, but it kind of opened up. I noticed I hit a depression thing. I went through a big traumatic event, and after it calmed down, like 3 or 4 weeks, I was, like, in a depression thing, and I recognized it again, so I reached out to you and we had the appointment. This had a big pivotal turn in what the medicine is about, and less is more, and the beauty of CBD. I mean, really opened up my mind, and I really got that connection of, because we did this very low microdose. My mom with Alzheimer's was taking more THC than I was. It's that I love how less is more. It's such a it really helped pull me out of that depression without having how I used to do it. I used to get high without having to get the high, but having the joy and gratefulness. And then doing this is the other big thing, is really doing the self work along with it. Like if you were taking an antidepressant, you got to do the self work along. It's not just going to fix you. But cannabis seems to have a little bit more of it does fix you more than what I feel in a prescription. It like molds to me.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
almost like the plant is extremely intelligent. One of the things, this is how it makes me feel. I feel that the intelligence of the plant comes into my body and literally goes in and nudges areas that I need to get back into balance. I look at it as a warm blanket that I'm putting over me, right? To keep me safe, keep me in the relaxation response, keep me being able to process emotions and to have my body do its job. We have smart bodies and they know what to do. We
Yes.
just need to communicate with our bodies and listen to them.
Yes, it actually has me choose better foods. It has the stigma of like wanting to I mean, yes, if you smoke too much and get really high, you can get the munchies, but when I'm medicating, it has me choose better foods.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Complete 100% agree. So what happened? Let's talk about what happened in October. So what was it about the care plan that helped you the most? About the
So it just I think just the care plan with just doing like the walking and journaling, and really just it helped me get down to what I really needed to look at. It really helped me just like own what was going on. And I think I was like really maybe doing like 2.5 milligrams of THC to more CBD, way more, like 10, 15, or something like that, like 4 times a day, and I didn't really even notice I was taking anything, which is the
right.
beautiful thing.
But so you, in other words, it was, in other words, you weren't saying, oh, wow, I feel this, but you
Yeah.
felt good, right?
Yes, yes. And
That's
then you also gave me ways, because when I moved back in with my mom, I went into a little rebellion thing and I started drinking and painting Bigfoot in the garage, and like, what have I done moving in with my mom? We went through our little period of that. Um, but you gave me ways how to break off of that without like a shame, because it's like we're humans. We get in our little
roller coasters.
yeah. And so so you would have me take like an intentional hit, and I would decide what my intention was before. And seriously, I would maybe only have 1, 2, or 3 hits, and I would not drink. And that's all I would have all day. And it would be like intentional. Okay, I'm doing this now. And it would get me out of relying on substance to make my life easier. But it helps me, they help me look at my whole life. And I really got through that depression nicely. I was really excited. And
Oh, that's amazing.
it was we have a lot of like depression type in our family, and over medicating with prescriptions and stuff. So I get really afraid, and I know the prescription meds are work and they're good, and they for their time and place. But this just makes me feel safer in a depression zone, using cannabis, just from my personal history, and
Yes.
seeing, yeah, yeah.
And then the
So
other thing too that's important for people to know, if you're using it for one thing, one of, the pleiotropic nature of cannabis is that it works on multiple different physiological systems all at the exact same time, whether you know you have something wrong with you or not.
It's so smart. It's
But
smarter than our phones.
it's really, really smart. So my question to you is, so now let's jump to January.
Okay.
Okay. How did you know something was wrong with your body in January of this year? So here we are, June 2023, just about 6 months ago. What was going on?
So in 2023, I was going to do this whole lifestyle change. It wasn't like totally crazy lifestyle change, but I'm in a meditation teaching, getting certified right now. And I was just getting ready for all that. So I got through that little depression thing, and I was going to go full clear minded. I wanted to do a year, no alcohol. Because I just like doing that. I'm kind of weird like that. So I was just like ready for this whole year change. And about 3 weeks in, I was having shortness of breath. I was starting to feel that in November and December, but I was kind of paying more attention to it. So the more I was like taking care of my body and going on this event, I had shortness of breath. I thought I was having a heart attack. So I took myself to the ER. It was like the 24th. And they saw that it was lung cancer right away. My heart's very healthy. My whole body is very healthy. I'm very lucky actually being healthy, getting into this cancer thing and having a strong body. So they x-rayed me, and they saw there was a tumor on my left lung. It was 3 centimeters. And they sent me to oncology and the lung doctor. And then I started researching.
Yeah. So, okay. So you go in January, right? So did you think that you would be using cannabis in your cancer treatment?
I at first when I heard cancer, yes, that didn't even faze me. I knew that I would be using cannabis for that. For sure. I just didn't know what was happening yet. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was going to be, this was the other thing too, because I thought, because I was going through like a clean period, my tolerance was at a nice level. And I had shame for that. I'm like, shoot, I'm going in cancer and I have a high level tolerance. This is not going to be good, because I thought I needed a low level tolerance for cancer. And it turned out to be a good, yeah.
You need to build up your tolerance to be able
Yes.
to higher amounts of THC.
Yes.
Anti-proliferation, anti-metastatic, apoptosis, and anti-angiogenesis. That's how cannabinoids work.
Yeah.
Right? Well, protecting our healthy cells.
Yes. Yes.
So what does your treatment look like? So basically, what are your, medical, holistic, cannabis? What is how are you treating this?
So I got my medical license. It was a couple of days before my chemo, and this was a really cool turn of events. And this doctor who gave me the license sent me to a medical. It was like a barn, and I went. It's like a red barn. It really is a red barn in Washington, way like in the country. I went in there and they're like, cancel chemo. I'm like, I can't cancel chemo. They were like a little bit extreme. And then they were talking to me. I heard about the Rick Simpson oil protocol, but I wasn't sure what it was. And they filled me in with it, and the doctor filled me in with it. And they're like, you don't go to chemo in 2 days. I'm like, I have to go to chemo in 2 days. I just started. So I left with my Rick Simpson oil kit. And I went home, and that night I got a sore throat, and I started feeling bad. And I took a COVID test, and I was positive for COVID. I did not feel sick at all when I was out that day. So the next day I took it and I had a serious line. So I had to cancel chemo for 2 weeks. Yeah. It's like the universe is like, whoop. So what I did was, since I was isolating, um, I built up my tolerance pretty fast, and I started the Rick Simpson oil treatment. I just dove in and I started researching it. Then I reached out to you. I'm like, I got it because I was like on a time crunch. And
Mhm.
so I was able to start the RSO protocol 2 weeks before the chemo. Um, and I was able to sleep with most of it. And with the CBD, that really helped. The CBD is really important. I didn't actually believe that until I really started doing this. So I do that with the CBD 4 times a day, the Rick Simpson oil, and I do Rick Simpson CBD oil too.
Yeah.
And I take that with my nausea medicines. The first After the first treatment, I went in and I met the doctor. I did not take all the nausea medicine. I was supposed to be really sick. It's Cisplan, which is a pretty,
Cisplatin. Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Cisplatin.
pretty strong one.
Uh-huh.
Um, and the doctor was almost like yelling at me because I didn't take all my nausea medicine. And I'm like, I'm doing cannabis too, medical marijuana too. And he they won't talk to you about it. Um,
But did they write it down? Did they even say,
no,
they don't
they know
even
I'm doing it. They wanted me to go do it. They said, go get your medical license and go do it, but we can't talk to you about it, really.
sing.
Yeah. So, and this wasn't my normal oncologist, but he's like, it, I mean, there's some days where I don't even feel like I've had chemo.
There you go.
Yeah.
There are some days that you feel like you haven't even had chemo. So if
Yes.
you talk to, I used to do, just so you know, for the viewers out there, I used to be an oncology nurse and I used to give
Okay.
chemo in the home. So I would go in the home, I would access someone's portacath or access their, depending upon the type of chemo that they
Yeah.
were
You got
taking,
pick or
your PICC
port.
line. Yep, PICC line or a portacath. So I would actually give chemo in the home to children and adults and help monitor. Sometimes it would just be a single treatment. Sometimes they'd be hooked up to a pack, where if it was 5 FU, so it would be a cycling. So anyways, and so bottom line is patients struggle and suffer, right? So you have to think about what chemo is doing is killing bad cancer cells, but it is also affecting our healthy cells and tissues in our entire body, right? So cannabis can protect those healthy
Mhm.
cells. So just look at cannabis as like a shield to keep your cells healthy. And cannabis can actually prime the cancer cell to be hit harder with the chemotherapy to kill it. Cannabis can mitigate side effects from chemotherapy and all the other pharmaceuticals, right? And so cannabis is that warm blanket that you put around you so you can tolerate some of those heavy duty treatments that are meant to help you. So, it's different for everyone. So it was what I find very interesting about your story is how the people in the red barn said, cancel your chemo. And basically it got canceled because you got COVID. That
Yeah.
was very interesting. So I'm very that was just very serendipitous to me that happened to happen. So you were able to actually get a nice amount of cannabinoids on board, starting
Yes.
to prime your endocannabinoid system, right? Get it as regulated as possible to be able to tolerate these heavy duty drugs that are going in to target the cancer cells.
Mhm.
Wow. So you started on cannabis, started titrating your dosing up using the protocol that they created for you. And then when you started having chemo, what was that like having all those cannabinoids on board?
It was so I had 14 grams before I got to chemo. It was really hard in the beginning. I think it really helped me get through COVID too, because COVID's fatigue, I mean, that was harder than this second round of chemo, COVID.
Wow.
But I've also have more cannabis, or
Yeah.
the cyst, the buildup. It, I It actually feels like when I'm in the chemo room, I feel like I'm cheating, and I feel like I'm too healthy, and, you know, the
I feel
nurses
like
know what
I'm
I'm doing.
cheating. That's interesting. That's interesting. It's almost as if you have a head start.
Yes. There's that 2 weeks, and now that I know what that 2 weeks did for me, I'm like, I would if I could, like, read in the future, I would have lied about the 2 weeks just to get the 2 weeks under my belt. It was really hard muscling that
Yeah.
because if I wish I had more time, I could have had more time if I researched earlier or if I called you earlier, you know? Um I still had some of that recovery shame of cannabis, but that was something I meditated and I worked through. I really don't have the shame anymore. If I did,
Good.
I wouldn't have reached out to you, you know?
Well, this is important. We might as well just talk about it. So, I've been in recovery programs for, adult children of alcoholics.
Yes, that's like, I love that place.
You know what I
I
mean?
love hate it.
Codependency, there's a CODA group. So, all of these different, and I love the 12-step programs. They point us in the right direction. But
Yes.
when you get down to it, it's about a way of life.
12-step
It
program's good for like a year and then graduate.
But that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to help you to create a way of life so you're living your best life, making good choices.
Yeah.
Just think about this. What has prohibition done for us? Nothing. It's made
Uh-huh.
everything worse. So if you think about the AA program, sometimes they can be so strict and so overburdening and it stimulate that shame cycle. It's great. I love it. However, when I'm working with patients that are in it, I said, you need to think about your life as your way of life.
Yeah.
No one is going to live your life for you but you. And so it really requires people to kind of go in and take a little bit of an inventory, as no one's going to save you but you. No one's going to help you but you. You
Totally.
really. And so it's really about looking at, I love myself enough to be open and vulnerable. And I know, and for the stigma piece of it, I so get it, because when I started using cannabis as medicine, my mother blocked me on Facebook and wrote me out of her will.
Oh, ouch.
So I'm back in the will and my mother's on cannabis.
I saw, yes, I saw your podcast with your mom. So I knew the outcome.
So it's just basically, it's really about, trying to not allow the outside world to dictate who you are, how you want to show up in the world, and how you want to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard, but it can be done.
Yeah.
It can be done.
And
And
I
you're
thought too, going into lung cancer, I thought for sure I caused it by smoking. Now I asked all the doctors, eight doctors, there's some specialists in there. No.
you're smoking cannabis is not the reason why you got lung cancer.
No. They all said no. All of them. The lung therapist, everybody, no.
Yeah. Yep.
That's why I'm like kind of big on non-smokers, because I don't want the medicine to get stigmatized for lung cancer now. I'm like protecting it now. I'm going into protection mode.
Well, and I'll disclose too. I've taken care of, like I said, a lot of patients that have cancer and a lot of patients that have actually had lung cancer. And I'm going to tell you, and people will be like, oh, if you have lung cancer, you shouldn't smoke. I said, well, I was taking care of a hospice patient who actually he was on, they just transitioned him over to hospice. There was, before he was over on hospice, he actually wanted to use cannabis as medicine to see if it could help him. He was Chinese speaking, didn't speak a word of English. I was translated through his daughter, and we tried oils and tinctures and edibles, and he couldn't get it in because he was too nauseous. So I had to go on a journey to educate him on inhalation for eating. And so it took a good month, but he was desperate and he wanted to eat. Like he just, I'm not ready to die yet. I want to do this. So basically the daughter bought some cannabis flower. I brought my own, and I taught them how to roll a joint. They got a little pipe. And all of us smoked at the appointment. They said, you go first. So I pulled out my own, and I literally, as a nurse, sitting in someone's home with a cannabis joint, taking a puff and showing them that it's safe. It's okay. So the interesting thing, he took a puff. The daughter took a puff. They were going back and forth. And I go, stop. You only need 2 or 3. They started to really
Yes.
enjoy it. And I said, let's just stop and see where you're at. And literally, after he stopped, he paused and he wanted to try to eat his gummy or his edible. And he did. 15 minutes later, he laid down and went to sleep. I continued teaching the daughter. When he woke up, he was hungry, not nauseous,
Yes.
and actually went to go eat. So this was a stage 4 lung cancer patient.
Mhm.
Another lung cancer patient that I've taken care of as well. Sometimes what happens is if you get congested, right? So cannabinoids are vasodilatory, so they can open up blood vessels, they can open up your airways, and they can provide oxygen exchange, the expectoration. So when people cough, people are like, oh, the cough, the cough. Well, I'm going to defend the cough. The cough is an expectorant, right? So you're coughing and you're going to open up the alveoli where the oxygen exchange happens. And so when patients inhale that are having difficulty breathing, it decreases their anxiety, it opens up their airways, it lowers their blood pressure a little bit. They cough and they're actually improving their oxygenation. It improves oxygen exchange, their brain clears up, their anxiety goes down.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we teach patients to do bong rips all day long.
Yeah.
It's literally about symptom management. You do an inhalation to decrease your anxiety. You do an inhalation to stimulate your appetite, or to do an inhalation to decrease your anxiety, to quell the nausea so you can get the other tinctures, capsules, or gummies in. So there's so many different ways that we can use cannabis as medicine. And the right way is the way that works best for you.
Mhm.
And that's how we work with patients. And it can look different for everyone.
Yeah. You had me set up before chemo, and I was scared to put smoke in me. But if I had any mornings where I could not, because my mornings do start on a nausea, I wake up and I'm like, oh, I feel good. And then I get this nausea bout. And that's when I wake up and I have like, it's like a salt magnesium drink with my first dose of the THC, which is very low in the morning, and then the big CBD and anti-nausea. And then it's like, usually I get going and I'm like, if I did not have those medicines in the morning, I think my life would be so much different right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is an interesting thing too. So if you think about it, the endocannabinoid system's going on and off all day long. So oftentimes when patients go to sleep, right, because we microdose during the day, we take it breakfast, lunch, dinner, bedtime as needed, small amounts to mimic the endocannabinoid system. So when we go to bed, right, when I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I do is I pop my CBD capsule. Why? Because I know I'm cannabinoid deficient. I don't start the day off with THC. I start my day off with CBD. I literally pop it in my mouth, get back into bed, do my prayers, right? And get up and start my day to see if I do need a little bit of THC to quell my nausea. I
Okay.
too wake up in the morning with nausea, right? It's part of the autoimmune condition and some of the other things that I have going on, but you can mitigate that, right? So, waking up in the middle of the night, sometimes you can prevent that. Sometimes you can't. It just depends upon what's going on in your body. Yeah. But being cannabinoid deficient in the morning, specifically for patients that are on a lot of medications, that are going on a lot of treatments, you're sleeping, which is great. You want to get that restorative sleep, but waking up in the morning, you want to start microdosing right away.
Mhm.
Okay. The endocannabinoid system on and off all day long. Very, very different. It's not a pharmaceutical model. It's literally, we want to mimic what our body's doing, taking small amounts frequently throughout the day, stacking products in a safe and efficient way. So how do you feel right now the RSO protocol is helping your chemo treatments?
I don't know what I would be doing without it. I would be getting sick because I'm a very nauseous person anyway.
And here's a question. Here's a question. So you right now, you are living with cancer. You're in the middle of having chemotherapy treatments.
Yes.
You're taking high dose cannabis oils
Yes.
to bridge the gap from what you're not getting to decrease side effects, right?
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. And you're functioning every day. You're getting up.
Yes, I worked a full day today. I still work at home office. I had home office before home office happened. I did a full like 6 hour day. Some days I have fatigue and I can't get a full, but yes, I am highly functioning with a really strong chemo treatment.
There you go. There you go. So you're living your best life.
Yeah. 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 Yes. I can't imagine doing this without. I really, really can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for our new viewers, for someone that's new out there that, might have a new diagnosis of cancer, what would your recommendations be?
I would do the Rick Simpson oil slow starting. If as soon as I found out I had cancer, I would start like taking it to sleep because
Mhm.
I had to take it fast and build up my tolerance fast. And it was like, no more pot. don't build it fast. I was in a good, safe position to be able to do it.
Do it.
I'm grateful I was able to do it, but to really build up slowly and reach out, have a nurse is really, you, Sherry, have helped me so much. And I know you're going to be helping me more. So,
Mhm.
yeah. And really doing the self work along with the cannabis because it really helps you want to do the self work. So it gets fun. Like journaling with cannabis is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Not,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Opens up the mind to creativity, helps you sink into the relaxation response. That's my new thing.
Yeah.
Relaxation
All,
response. Relaxation.
yes. And also talking to your doctors and nurses and telling everybody what you're doing too is, I think, really, really important.
Yep.
I,
And the one other thing, go ahead.
I have to get a surgery and I have to really, with the anesthesiologist, tell everything that is going in my body. So,
Yes, absolutely. And that's important. We are actually going to have a guest speaker, anesthesiologist, come on in the fall,
okay.
who's actually a nurse anesthetist, and he did an amazing presentation. So he's going to come on in the fall and talk about that. It is important that we do tell our clinicians, specifically if we are going to have surgery, because you may need more anesthesia.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
cannabinoids aren't really good for the acute pain, but they can actually be really good to help you not need as much of the opioids or any of the pain medications. They can, you may just need a couple, but once you get the cannabinoids back into your system, you'll be able to get off quickly. Pain medications are appropriate to be used short term. That's the
Yeah.
problem. Not long term.
Yeah. I had to use Percocet with the biopsy and I was already talking to you and it really helped. I was really proud of them. They only gave me 10 instead of like a bottle of 40. I'm like, oh, that's smart.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But it really helped balance it because I really hate taking them. They really mess up my digestive system and everything, but they're good when you need them for short term. With the balance with the cannabis was a really nice effect for that recovery.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say I'm extremely grateful that you came on today to share your story. I hope that your story helps others. I am going to do a quick little plug here. So if you're new to our platform, I want to let you know that we do have a free network for patients and providers. It's run by nurses and our pharmacist. So if you go to holisticcaring.com, you're going to see this little thing that pop up, the shop and the network. The network is free. We also have a free introductory to cannabis course within the group, webinars, podcasts, and support, connection with patients and providers across the globe. On our website, there's a little button that'll show up and you can get a free 7-page medical cannabis guide if you sign up for our newsletter. After you get the newsletter, if you're not happy, you can always unsubscribe. In our website, we do have a Green Nurse approved marketplace where we vetted specific brands. On our platform, we have patient and professional online educational programs, plant medicine mentoring for clinicians, nurses, plant medicine consultations for patients, and we're now going to be doing disease management, CBD coaching. So our platform is slowly but surely getting a little bit bigger and getting a little bit more exciting. And for all the viewers out there, thank you for joining us. And if this video impacted you, please share. Sharing is caring. Truly, we are here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good, and we want to change the paradigm of healthcare. The future of healthcare is patient empowerment. And with drivers of care sitting outside the conventional system, you all would benefit from learning from us. So thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. We have our clinical conversations at noon. Nurse Elizabeth and I will be presenting on men's health. And actually tomorrow in the network, we have Coach Michael coming on. So Coach Michael is someone we've been working with. He is actually a psychedelic guide counselor, and he has amazing programs, and he's going to be doing an introductory to psychedelic course for us tomorrow, that for free in the network, and it will be recorded. So we hope to see you all there. And remember, everyone, what it's all about. It is truly about living your best life and helping others do the same. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many, many years. And you know, the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses Group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.